Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, this is Altcoin Sherpa with the Crypto Market Review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert. Do your own research. This probably is not a very good time to actually do the video because the market is extremely volatile right now. So anything that I say right now might literally just be irrelevant like 30 minutes later. I'll try to actually just zoom out and look at the high time frame charts and kind of what I'm looking at on higher time frames, like the daily or something, maybe 4 hour. But as it stands, this is like the 5 minute here on the Coinbase chart. These are very violent moves. I'm not going to review too much of Bitcoin today. I'll briefly go into it though, just because I think it's important to always understand the context in which you're trading. If you are looking at altcoins, is that you need to really look and see what Bitcoin is doing first and foremost. If you think that other than a few altcoins in general, the very strong leaders or coins that just eternally dump plasma, for example, the altcoin market is obviously very correlated to Bitcoin. So, I think it's very important for you to make sure that you understand where Bitcoin's at and what Bitcoin's doing if you are trading shitcoins. As it stands, this is as I said, I'm not going to review Bitcoin too much, but this is extremely choppy price action. This is the definition of chop. What we're seeing is very strong moves to the upside and downside, very strong, inefficient selling, chop, 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 very big, inefficient move to the upside, chop, 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 big move to the downside, chop, 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 and so on. And you can see these types of moves being repeated over and over and over again. And yeah, as I said, this is the definition of chop. It's very hard to trade. There's no real consistent trend anywhere. And if you zoom out, really, this is a small little subset. This is a range right here of even larger kind of downtrend overall. So, what we're seeing right now, as I said, we are downtrending right now for Bitcoin. Altcoins obviously look really bad. We've had some strong moves, a little bit temporary relief for altcoins, in late November. But as it stands, not really a whole lot going on. And we'll go through some of them right now. I got some requests, but I think it's just important to understand that Bitcoin right now is still in a bearish market structure. We are moving down. I do believe the local bottom is between anywhere 75K to 85K, but again, it could take a long time. Bottoms in general, high time frame good bottoms, they take a while to form. You could see it back in February to April time period where price chopped around for several weeks. We'll probably need to do something similar like that now, honestly. Something I don't know, just chop around for a while. And you can see, every good high time frame bottom does take time. Much of 2024 was really spent in a long consolidation pattern. This price action is very reminiscent of 2020, where price just did nothing and then exploded up. But I don't really have any super high time frame views of what Bitcoin will do in the future. I have no idea. But as of right now, still just very choppy. Yeah, still very choppy, still very up and down. Moves to the upside, moves to the downside. It's really hard to see what's going on, honestly. If you look at lower time frames, as I said, I'll mostly focus on higher time frames with these altcoins. If you look at the lower time frames, sorry, that was my dog. If you look at the lower time frames, I do believe that Bitcoin should find a local bottom relatively soon. You can see that these areas provided support several times. And what I mean by support is you can see price bounced along here before having a strong up move. You can see that back in just December 9th and then again December 11th. So theoretically, I do believe that Bitcoin should find some sort of temporary bottom around this area, but again, it's looking pretty bleak. So again, all of this stuff could be pretty irrelevant on honestly this video within an hour. Like if Bitcoin wicks to like $85,000 or something, then yeah, like if it just like totally dumps, then you can probably just throw this video away, honestly. But as I said, I'm going to try to figure out a way to just like post about some of these altcoins on higher time frame charts, and then kind of go from there. So yeah, let's just get into some of these altcoins here. Okay, sorry, I just had to pause the video really quick just to get a drink. Okay, let's get into some of these altcoins here. I will review some of the big ones, of course. Hype is, I wanted to give a disclaimer, Hype is the best project in crypto right now. Great PMF, great team, great everything. But there still are going to be monthly unlocks. Don't blame them, they deserve it. I long marked this 23 to 26 area on the chart. This current area is a strong area on the fib. For a fib retrace, the 0.618 is a great area, generally speaking. And you can see that these levels on the fib are fairly respected. You can see that there's bounces where there should be bounces. This chart itself is not super clean. You can see that there's lots of moves in both directions on the chart. It's not really as clean for most fibs. What I mean by clean is that you generally speaking don't want to see as many tests of these levels before. So if there's like a big imbalanced move, you might see it like move down and then go back up. This is like untested liquidity. Whereas here, you can see that these levels have been tested over and over and over. It's why that you see situations where it's like a stairs up, elevator down price action for a lot of charts where it's just boom, 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 boom. A lot of that support has been tested over and over and over again, and there's no fresh liquidity, so that's why you see these big liquidations. Anyways, as it currently stands, I think that this is still like a very strong project, of course. This green box was like the local bottom. To be determined if that is the bottom. I don't know. I think it's really going to be dependent on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin chills out, bottoms relatively soon, then I think it's possible that Hyperliquid could just bottom at the 618. If you're looking at this from a higher time frame point of view, like you just want to buy this thing and like hold it for the next 6 months, it probably doesn't matter all that much if you buy between 28 to 24. Yeah, you might have to incur some decent sized drawdown, 20%. But as long as you DCA all within this green box, buy 10% here, 10% there, 10% later, it's probably a decent strategy overall. That is if you still believe that the crypto market isn't just totally over. That is debatable in itself as well. So I don't know. I think it's a good project, of course, but would just go ahead and just be cautious for now. Anyways, let's move to FARTCOIN. FARTCOIN, I do have a bag of this one. I still think it's a good coin. I was trading this on the fibs, but again, not a very clean fib overall. You can see that there's just a lot of wicks in both directions, honestly. This is generally not very conducive for breaking up. I really was wanting to get filled on this green box. I had lots of bids filled. I actually traded this yesterday. I bought it higher at 35 cents or something like that because I bought the break. And I've been trading in and out. I actually lost some money on it earlier today, but overall, I still think it's a good coin. I still think it's it's one of my bigger bags. I still believe it's a good one. I'm still going to be fairly patient. I'll scalp here and there if I see an opportunity, but ultimately would view the low 30s would be a pretty decent spot in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know. Right now it's really kind of a no trade zone in my opinion. You either want to see it break up past 41 cents, or you want to see it break down below. I would use that personally as like a good framework. WIF, I got a question or request to see WIF. I think I've gone back and forth on these types of coins, honestly. I used to believe that these coins were totally toast, not good. And the reason is that I thought there was going to be too many new coins that basically sucked attention with all the pump fund coins. And you saw it for a lot of 2024, where a lot of the new AI coins, a lot of the new meme coins, they made it to perps on Binance, and Binance was listing a whole bunch of them. And I thought that the old dinosaur memes were not going to be sustained, because memes ultimately are they're based on attention, of course. And with so many new tokens coming out, so many new runners, so to speak, I thought the trenches would stay around for a little bit longer. But as it stands, the trenches got decimated. On-chain is never going to go away fully, but of course, I don't think we'll see it as it was in 2024 again for a very long time, if ever. Just that level of extraction was very insane, and you really need a very strong outside presence in terms of money coming in order for that to be sustained again, like it was. But I mean, there were a lot of people that said NFTs would come back. Like, NFTs had never really bounced back like in the way that they were before. Never really happened. So I was bearish on these quote unquote Lindy memes before, and now I'm actually somewhat bullish on them. And the reason that I'm bullish on them is that I think that because the trenches got so wrecked, I believe that I don't believe there's going to be as many listed memes, like new runners, so to speak. So therefore, if the market does want to bid memes, which crypto is still about, it's still like a space that does value these things, like there's only going to be so many like quote unquote Lindy memes. And WIF, I don't know if you can really call it that, so to speak, but I do think that some of these types of coins like could be okay. But again, we are just at the mercy of limited liquidity in crypto in general. Like, equities are just better. Gold has outperformed. So I don't know. Like, on one hand, I think that these Lindy memes are decent, but on the other hand, I have a hard time really seeing like a fresh new buyer even coming in and saying, hey, I want to bid WIF. Like, for what purpose? I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to say, to be frank and honest with you. As it stands, the chart itself is pretty ugly, to be frank and honest with you. It's not really a good chart. Don't see the type of catalyst to really buy it. That's one of the problems. My original assumption, as I said, with buying these Lindy memes is that there's no real attention on them, and that does hold true. Like, there's no real reason to buy WIF, and it just looks like it's bleeding to oblivion. That's not to say it won't ever pump again. One thing that I think is a wrong framing for a lot of people as well is that they just assume that because these memes are quote unquote dead, there's no way that you can actually make money on them. But in reality, like, these things can still double. Like, it's 37 cents now. It could certainly go to 80 cents again. That would just be where it was back in October. It doesn't take much money to double for these things. So, like, even if you buy them, like here, I'm not saying you need to buy it here, but like, you can still make 2x or whatever on your money in the right environment. And for most people, like, that is decent enough, in my opinion. That's something that people can actually, it's a solid reason to trade. Now, will this thing ever outperform like it did back in 2024? Highly unlikely, in my opinion. I don't think so. Again, it's going to take a special meme to really do that. Like, I don't think that many memes at all are going to go back to their old 2024 highs. But again, that's not necessarily like the meme's fault. It's more of just like a function of liquidity. Crypto in general has had limited liquidity since arguably 2021. That was the top. So that's not to say, though, like, that you can't make money on this thing. Yes, you can make money on it. But is it truly going to be one of the top runners in the market? Probably not. Um, and as traders, we always want to find the ones that outperform the market. So no real reason to buy with. As it stands, like TA wise, you can maybe make an argument that it's like doing some sort of like weird double bottom. Maybe it'll chop, 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 and then like this would be a good like scenario that you would hope for, in my opinion, if you were buying with. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'll stay away. I'll probably stay away from it. I will say that if Bitcoin really like does go into a strong trending environment, then memes usually perform pretty well. This was the bottom back in April. You can see a similar level to it is now. Again, 30 cents, and it went all the way up to 142. So again, that's a 4x on your money. And for most people, it's 4x on like their quote unquote bankroll, So that's not just like, like even though these things look like shit, they can still pump pretty strongly. Even though like that quote unquote pump back in April wasn't even that like great, relatively speaking. So yeah, I mean, like, is it going to go all the way back up to $4? Probably not. Could it do 2x or maybe a 3x up to like buck 20, buck whatever? Like, yeah, probably in the right conditions. I think so. And BCA used to hold this one quite for a while back in 2024. I couldn't really find a good chart. As it stands, I mean, doesn't look great, honestly. Don't really know. It's a good meme, of course, but like it's kind of similar to what I just said with WIF, honestly. Yeah, so I don't know. Like probably wouldn't buy it personally. I mean, TA wise, it's like near it's like this low, but I don't know. Like yeah. PIVX, not quite familiar with this coin. It's an old looking coin. Holy shit, back in 2023. So about 2 years old. I mean, it's near its floor. So maybe you can just buy the floor. It looks like it had a pretty strong move though back in October when the rest of the market was fairly shit. So maybe a good strategy would just to be like buying like the floor and hoping it comes up. But as you can see, you can just see lower highs every single time it pumps. So and this is pretty common for most altcoins, to be frank with you. So would expect something similar, like maybe another move down to 10 cents or whatever, and then to 30. And again, similar to WIF as well, where you're not expecting all-time highs, but you can still get a few X on your money. AVAX, used to love this coin, but as it stands, not a huge fan of the price action as is. Just looks like it's bleeding down. I mean, a strong move back in September. I remember this was like a DAT during the DAT stuff in August, September, but not really a huge fan. It looks like it's going back down to $9 or whatever. Really no reason to buy AVAX in this day and age, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe like $9 you can buy it, and then again just trade up, but highly unlikely it ever leads. Injective INJ, this one was absolutely insane as a ripper in 23. I mean, this was one actually where people, I think it was all jump money, honestly, but it doesn't matter because it fucking rips like insane. I mean, it went from like $1 to fucking 50. So 50x liquid on whatever size you wanted for the most part. I mean, everyone was broke at this point anyway. So like end of 22, nobody had any money at that point. So, but absolutely insane ripper. Injective was one of the original perp dexes before perp dex meta was cool. And I mean, as it stands, it's like probably just going to go like much lower, unfortunately. It's just going to slowly bleed down. I don't really know too many people that actually trade there. I think they, did some other stuff, but wouldn't be surprised to see it just keep going lower, to be frank with you. Link is a great project, but again, I'm not trading it. I'm just waiting on it. I think that it just keeps going lower, probably just because the market itself, or the market just shit right now. Um, Probably grinds down to like that $10 level. Yeah, like nothing really to say. Fundamentally, great project. I think that nothing bad to say about this one. Like it's definitely going to stick around. It's always like a very solid project. Like you're never going to get like a 10x on your money, but generally speaking, the downside is fairly muted, relatively speaking. Like Link never really gets totally wrecked like a lot of other coins when during the bad times. And obviously, team is great. It's very institutional, and yeah, it's just like a always like a solid coin that has critical infrastructure in the crypto market. So yeah, nothing ever bad to say, but probably still trades lower. BCH has actually been a fairly strong major. The chart itself, this is the 3-day chart. It still is creeping up higher. Like I don't know if it's like the strongest major. I haven't tracked it versus ETH and Sol and BNB, but the chart itself is very solid. Very weird price action all throughout this summer of July of 2025. But it looks like it's gonna go higher. Honestly, it's kind of a weird chart as I said, but um, like I'm personally not going to buy it, but it actually looks relatively pretty strong. Like any coin that's like nearing somewhat close to its some of these highs back in set in 24 are ones to keep an eye on in my opinion. COTI, it looks like it went down to the level that I'm watching right now, and these older 2020 coins in this case, these coins, they're slowly bleeding. They really need to have pivots. I know COTI had pivot with privacy, but this is kind of a critical hold area, in my opinion, for COTI. And let's just see if price can actually hold. But as it stands, it's just kind of like a slow bleed. No real reason to buy quite yet, in my opinion. PENGU, another good coin, in my opinion, would want to wait until it forms some sort of bottom and then could potentially buy it on the way up. As it stands, as I said, this is not really one where you want to necessarily knife catch, but I think that you could consider just buying on the way up. This one had insane gains before, though. Like, I mean, really, really crazy moves before. From top to bottom, you definitely could have made a shitload of money. Again, yeah, it's huge, like gigantic move. But I think it's better to buy it on the way up, honestly. It's just to be safe. ONDO had some strong announcements recently. I don't know, some SEC clearing case, I don't remember. But this one, it's high valuation, and right now the VCs are unlocking. So I think that it's one to maybe be careful of and potentially stay away. I think that you just need to watch out for VCs. They're just unlocking. The sell pressure is just going to be too high, and they're still up a lot. So I would just stay away from ONDO for personally. It's still high FTV, and yeah, just would be careful on that one. MNT is a coin that I really like. It's really been strong the last few days, and it looks like it's just slowly grinding up. It's still Bybit's coin. There's still utility. It's still strong. Definitely outperforming the rest of the market right now in a lot of ways. And it's just on my radar. It's something to really consider. It's probably one where you can consider just buying it somewhere and then just holding it for a little while because, again, 70% down, top to bottom, probably will rebound here. But like unlike most other shit coins, this one's actually rooted in some fundamentals because it's Bybit's BNB, so to speak. TIA, well, I've let my not hate, just my overall thoughts on TIA be known. Like, you know, this was the last big centralized exchange ripper that we had was TIA. At any point, you could have gotten 10x on unlimited size from $2 to 20. It was very reminiscent of old 2021 pumps of a narrative. And, you know, VCs were able to dump their staked tokens and they made hundreds of millions of dollars. And this one just won't end, in my opinion. It's already sub dollar. I even called it I'm fairly sure it's going to be sub dollar. But I don't see any end in sight. If you are in this one, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but just heavily reevaluate your position and consider just eating the loss. It's shitty. I've been there. What you can sometimes do is you can like wait until the market is good. Like we saw back in, you know, kind of earlier part of this year where maybe it moves up like a little bit, 2x, and then you can dump your bag. I don't know. Like there's a lot of ways you can play it, but assuming it's going to go anywhere close to your break-even price, highly, highly unlikely. EIGEN, another coin that is struggling lately. It's struggling for a lot of reasons, but with ETH being fairly inconsistent, this one just looks like it's grinding down. It made fresh lows. It didn't hold that wick from 10.10, unfortunately. Would be more cautious on this and probably just wait to buy on the way up. So something like this, you know, like if you wanted to buy that makes a lot more sense in my opinion. But as of right now, buying currently right now, a little bit risky for sure. Anyways, this was the video for Crypto Market Review. Thank you so much for the support, guys, and catch you next time.